Moin, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I am Mace, best host on the West Coast, coming to you from Vancouver Island in beautiful British Columbia, and today we got a video from Rubos. He's going to be explaining, I guess, another German children's fairy tale or story, The Three Little Devils. The other day we did the examination and sort of first reaction to the Struwwelpeter, the thumbsucker video where the little kid is being taught a story to not suck his thumbs in case, he doesn't want to get his thumbs cut off, which I don't find these stories to be, you'll see like sensational YouTube thumbnails and titles like insanely frightening German children's fairy tales and like all of these things, but it's really not 100% accurate. I mean, a lot of cultures have darkly things that are thematically kind of dark, but they're used in a way to not scare children but try to teach children a lesson, and they're quite normal actually, going back hundreds of years. I think you can find lots of things like this. All right, let's check it out.
It's famous of the fairy tales collected.
Do 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 do.
Germany is famous for the fairy tales collected by the Brothers Grimm, but of course every community had its own stories and the Grimms couldn't possibly collect them all. Most of these stories have since faded from the collective memory, but some of them have managed to survive. Some of the stories from my little corner of Germany, for example, have been collected in this book. Now, these stories were told partly for entertainment, but also to teach valuable life and moral lessons. And of course, a lot of them were creepy, because back in the day, people used to enjoy thrillers and horror stories just as much as we do today. So for Halloween,
they didn't have much to do. They couldn't scroll Instagram endlessly until oblivion.
I thought I'd present to you my retelling of one of those stories. This is the tale of the Three Little Devils.
What? Die drei kleinen...
There once was a poor hunchback who lived with his wife and children in a tumble-down hovel on the edge of the village. One day he set off to market with a sack of gloves that he and his wife had made, hoping to sell them so they could buy some food at least for the next few days. After a full day's walk, he arrived at a golden castle he'd never seen before. He rang the bell at the gate and a servant appeared. Please, sir, said the hunchback, I need somewhere to sleep the night. Perhaps you have a stable I can use. If you're feeling courageous, said the servant, I can offer you a room in the castle, but I cannot promise you will leave it alive. Many travellers before you have stayed there, and all have died. The king is beside himself with worry, so much so that he cannot sleep at night. If you can lift the curse, the king himself will reward you with gold.
So we've got a couple of choices. Risk it all for a little bit of gold, but also you could not come out alive. See what happens. I like this.
The hunchback thought about this. I have enough courage for a whole regiment of soldiers, and I know what it's like to be sleepless with worry. I'll do it. The servant welcomed him inside, gave him a meal, the likes of which he hadn't seen since his wedding feast, and showed him to his room. That night, just as he was nodding off, the door opened and three devils came into the room, one as tall as a man, one the size of a dog, and the third as small as a cat.
Got some Russian doll devils.
There's another one, cried the smallest. We'll get him, cried the second. Hey you, can you dance? Demanded the tallest. The hunchback greeted them with a smile. But of course I can dance, he said, and got out of bed. And so he danced with the devils, round and round the room.
Just a little aside, anybody out there know Primus, the band? Primus really sucks, by the way, but yeah, if you know Primus, you're a legend, and yeah, devil went down to Georgia.
Dancing and laughing until they could dance no more. Very well, said the smallest devil. You can dance, but can you play cards? Of course, said the hunchback, and they all sat down to play. The hunchback was an expert player and won every game. By midnight, he had won all the devil's money. "The money is yours," said the tallest devil.
I feel like there's a catch.
"Lucky for you, you can dance and play cards, otherwise we would have wrung your neck, as we did with your predecessors." And before the devils left, the smallest one took the man's hunch off his back and placed it in the corner of the room. The next morning, the servant knocked at the door and nervously opened it and saw that the visitor was still alive. He ran to his master and came back with a sack of gold. "The king gives you this reward and sends word that he can now sleep easy at night." The poor hunchback, who was now neither poor nor a hunchback, returned home to his wife and children. Not only could they
Which way is this story gonna go?
afford food, they were able to buy new clothes and no longer needed to worry about the future. And they sent their youngest child to repay a debt. The man's brother was very rich and had loaned them money in the past, but he and his wife were both very miserly, because very rich people can never have enough money. And so they asked the child, "Where did you get this money? And the money for your new clothes?" Well, of course, in his innocence, the boy told the truth. And so, after he'd left, the brother decided that he would go to the castle, meet the devils, and get his reward. After a day's walk, he finally
Bold move, Cotton. See how it works out for him.
arrived and rang the bell. The servant appeared, and the rich brother announced, "I want a room for the night." "Very well," said the servant, "but I can't guarantee that you will still be alive in the morning." "That doesn't worry me," said the rich brother. "Just take me to my room." And so
It doesn't worry you that you won't be alive in the morning. It doesn't worry you. Bruh.
that night, just as the rich brother was nodding off, the devils came into the room.
The Russian doll
"There's
devils.
another one," cried the smallest. "We'll get him," cried the second. "Hey you, can you play cards?" demanded the tallest.
Uh-oh.
The rich brother was filled with fear. Yes, I can play cards." But, oh dear, he was a terrible cards player. He lost all his money to the devils, who were disappointed and furious. "Should we wring his neck?" asked the tallest. "Not yet," said the smallest. "He should dance with us first. Hey you, can you dance?" "Well, of course I can dance," said the rich brother nervously. With that, the devils dragged him to his feet and danced. But, oh dear, what a terrible dancer this rich brother was. How the devils grimaced and howled in pain as the man
So basically he dances like Elaine Bennis.
stepped on their toes. "You're no fun," cried the tallest devil as the clock struck midnight. "Now I'm going to wring your neck. You can't play cards, you can't dance, but you can go to hell with us." "No," cried the youngest devil. "I have a better punishment for him. Let's give him his brother's hunch." And with that, he took the hunch from the
I mean, I would take the hunch over burning for eternity, but that's just me.
corner of the room where he'd put it, and put it on the rich man who was now a poor hunchback. And so he returned home with no money and no reward from the king after he treated his servant with such disdain and failed to best the devils. As he approached the house, his wife looked out of the window. "Let me in, wife," he said. "It's me, your husband." "Don't make me laugh," she replied. "You're not my husband. My husband is rich and handsome." And with that, she slammed the window shut and refused to let her husband in. Luckily, his brother, who he'd always mocked for being poor, took pity on him and looked after him. But he never got rid of his hunchback, and he was never reconciled with his wife. Now they live next door to each other, and perhaps one day you can visit them and hear from them the story of the three little devils.
Nice. So yeah, a pretty taut morality tale about blind greed, materialism, hubris, and just, yeah, it's pretty excellent, really. It's simple, it's straight to the point. I enjoyed it. Had a lot of, it's just a really well put together little morality tale, basically. I liked it. The brother was, blinded by his incessant need for more and more, even though he was already well to do off. He was already rich, but he wanted more. And that just speaks to the blind greed and greed in general. The original Hunchback did it right. He made it through the trials, as it were. And then even the husband returning, that's been given the Hunchback now, is shunned by his wife due to his looks and his lack of money. So her materialism and, what is it? Like, she only cares about the looks, basically. She doesn't love him for who he is. But, he was a bit of a greedy guy to begin with. But maybe that humbled him a bit. Anyways, excellent. I like it. See you on the next one, everybody. Tschüss.